Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the different types of dealerships and basically my recommendations for how you should interact with those dealerships. And yeah, that's just going to be pretty much today's video. So the first thing is I want to kind of group everything up in this video, so you guys, if you only want to see a certain segment of this video where you only want to see about certain dealerships, then you can just kind of go to that part of the video. So the first part of the video, I'm going to talk about new car versus used car dealerships and kind of like the differences between those two. And then we're going to kind of get a little bit more specialized. We're going to go into the type of new car dealerships, the luxury versus the regular. And then with used cars, we're going to go into the type of dealerships there where you have like a traditional used car dealership, and then where you have something that's a little bit more specialized financially. Buy here, pay here. It's kind of like a dirty word to use, but yeah, that's today's video. Now let's get into new car dealerships versus used car dealerships. So the first thing and the biggest differentiating factor between the two, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, the used car dealerships sell used cars and the new car dealerships sell new cars. It's not that simple. So the used car dealerships can only sell used cars. So all used car dealerships sell used cars. But new car dealerships sell new cars and used cars, so all new car dealerships are used car dealerships, but not all used car dealerships are new car dealerships. Simple enough? Okay. Getting on to the used car dealerships, obviously since all their inventory is going to be used, they have to do business in a little bit of a different way. So they have to keep their inventory up just like a new car dealership has to keep their inventory up. But since it's only used cars, they're going to buy a lot of cars from auction. They will get vehicles traded in, but that's just not enough for them to keep their inventory up to a stable level. So they will be continually buying vehicles from auction. So the chances of you running into a vehicle that was bought at an auction site or just at an auction in general at a used car lot is a lot higher than what it would be at a new car lot. Now, going over the new car dealerships, obviously they sell new cars and they sell used cars. Now on the used car front, most of the cars they sell used are going to be vehicles that were traded in. Now there's two different types of trade-ins that'll happen. The first one is someone will trade their vehicle in on a new vehicle. So someone will say, hey, I have a 2017 F-150. I want the new 2020 F-150. Here you go, right? And so then they'll have a 2017 F-150 on their lot. Or it'll be like, hey, I have a 2015 F-150. I saw you just got that 2017 F-150 traded in. I can't afford the new one. Here you go. And then boom, the new car lot obviously just traded in a used car for a new car, and they also just traded in a used car for a used car. So it happens both ways with them, but most of their vehicles in general are going to be trade-ins. Now the next thing that you're going to see is new car dealerships will buy cars from auction, but typically they only buy cars that are the same brand as what they sell new. So back to our Ford store, let's say that they go and they see that there's a 2019 F-150 for sale at auction that has really low miles. They know they can certify, add an additional warranty onto it. So they'll probably buy it, put it on their lot, and sell it. And those will be the used cars that you will see sold at new car dealerships from auction typically. They usually won't buy off-brand cars occasionally, right? But that's typically not the case. Usually they'll just stick with their brand because then they can certify the vehicle and they can make money off the certification rather than the vehicle itself with markup on the vehicle. Hopefully that part makes sense, and maybe that needs to be a separate video. But that's the first chunk, right guys? You have new car dealerships and used car dealerships and how they're going to do business differently. And I guess the last thing to mention on the new car dealership side of things is since they do have new cars and they have to hit a new car number and all that kind of stuff, they might not necessarily be as in tune with the used cars on their lot. And what I mean by that is a used car dealership, they're always going to have to make money off of pretty much every single used car because that's how they do business. Whereas on a new car dealership, they're making money off the new cars, and so maybe they'll be a little bit more aggressive on the amount of money they give a customer for a vehicle. So they might be selling a car for a little bit more than what it should be, or it might be the exact opposite. They they're making so much money off their new cars, they don't really need to make as much money off the used cars, so maybe they're giving a little bit better deals. It can go both ways, just depends on what's happening in the market. But usually they're pretty close between new cars and used car dealers. It's just there's sometimes a little bit of a discrepancy there just because the new car dealers do have the new cars that they can kind of fall back onto for profit. Now let's get a little bit more specific with the new car dealers, and I guess the dividing line that I want to make is the difference between a luxury new car dealer and a non-luxury new car dealer. So think Volkswagen versus Audi, right? Same car manufacturer, but you've got the non-luxury side and the luxury side, Ford and Lincoln, or you could have two completely separate brands that are not related at all, right? Ram and then Porsche. So the biggest difference that I see in terms of just pricing and how things go with a new car dealership, and again, this is very cookie cutter, so this doesn't apply to every single dealership, but in general, if you're selling a non-luxury item, there's not going to be as much profit or markup as if you're selling a luxury item. It just makes sense. With these non-luxury brands, they can sell a lot more volume, so they can make a little bit less money per vehicle, and since they sell more vehicles, then they make their money up in selling more vehicles. Whereas a luxury brand, they're not going to sell as many just because the vehicles are that much more expensive, so they have to make more money per vehicle for them to be able to have a sustainable business model. And that's the first difference that you'll see between the two. There are some exceptions, and I'm telling you, there really are some exceptions. There are some non-luxury brands, I'm not going to name any, right? But there are some non-luxury brands that they make massive amounts of money off of the vehicles just because of how cheaply they're made and all this kind of stuff. So that definitely does happen. That definitely is a thing. So don't think that's not a thing just because of that's what I said in this video. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that. Now, the other differentiating factor that I see basically making these two types of dealerships different is the fact that non-luxury brand dealers are going to be a little bit more laid back, and you're going to have more options to choose from. And usually as a buyer, if you approach these dealerships in kind of like a more aggressive fashion, it seems like that's almost more acceptable, even though my personal opinion is just, I don't think you should do that. You should never really be aggressive towards a dealer, right? That's just not how you build a relationship. But typically the buying style there can be a little bit more aggressive, whereas with luxury brands, it's kind of like my way or the highway. It's like, can you afford this car? Oh, you want a negotiated price off of it? You can't afford this car. Get out of my dealership, right? And it's not that extreme, but that's kind of like the mentality with those dealerships differing from the non-luxury to the luxury. Like, I don't know if any of you guys ever cross-shop between the two. There's a lot of people that will buy both non-luxury and luxury cars, and you go into a non-luxury dealership and you haggle for a few hours or whatever you do, and then you go into a luxury dealership, you try to do the same thing, and they go, I don't really want to sell you a car, right? It's completely different, but that's kind of like where those two types of dealerships kind of differ. I actually prefer just like the upfront pricing way, and a lot of dealerships are kind of getting to doing things this way, but just having pricing upfront makes it all easy. And again, with the one thing that I'd say is equal between both these dealerships is the better of a relationship that you build with the dealership, the better for you. So I know this sounds weird as a customer because you think that a dealership should just be doing everything for you, but if you actually, treat the people at the dealership with respect, crazy notion, right? Don't be a dick. Seriously, if you go and treat the people with respect and you're just honest about your budget and all that kind of stuff with both a non-luxury and a luxury dealership when you're buying a new car, it's going to make your experience so much better. And if you build a really good relationship with that dealership, it actually can help you get better deals down the road, or it can help you get a better deal with that particular car that you purchase. And trust me, if you buy a lot of cars, it's definitely worth it to do that. And I need to probably make a whole video on that whole topic, but let's get into the other topic. Now, the other part of this is obviously going to be with the different types of used car dealerships. Now, most used car dealerships don't have in-house financing. Most of them, what they typically do is they just have financing outside their dealership, so it's pretty straightforward. They buy cars, a lot of them from auctions, some of them from people trading it in, and they sell you this car. They try to make money off the car. Pretty straightforward. I mean, that's just car sales 101, right? Pretty simple business model. However, some dealerships have found that it's a lot more profitable to also do the financing for people. So there's a lot of used car lots that are buy here, pay here's. You really aren't going to see that with new car dealers. Some new car dealers kind of dabbled in it in the past, but it didn't work out that well. Used car dealers will do it. And the reason that it didn't work with new car dealers, believe it or not, is just because of reputation. Being a buy here, pay here dealership, for most dealers, completely ruins the reputation of the dealership, because what usually happens is they're extremely high interest loans, and it's really hard for people to just get out of them. And a lot of the times, all of the money that the people are paying towards the loan is just 100% profit for that dealership, so it's just not the best customer experience. So it makes sense that that only applies to most used car lots to be able to use that business model. Now here's what I'd say. Don't do a buy here, pay here. Pretty straightforward. If you want to buy a car off of a lot that's on a buy here, pay here dealership, that's okay if the car checks out, but don't do the buy here, pay here financing. Just buy the car, get your own financing, or pay cash for the car, whatever. Just, yeah, don't do the buy here, pay here stuff. It's not worth it. It's all sorts of trouble. So that's what I feel like with used car lots. I really don't have a negative feeling towards used car lots. I actually feel like they're great. You can find some really cool cars there. You just have to kind of understand what you're getting yourself in from the financial standpoint. Well, as always, to sum things up for the video, I'm just going to give a brief overview of everything if you fell asleep, because I kind of fell asleep. It's pretty warm in here. But regardless, the first part of the video, we talked about new car dealerships versus used car dealerships, and the biggest takeaway from that is that, yes, you can buy used cars at new car dealerships, and new car dealerships can be pretty interesting places where you actually can get really good deals on cars, just because they sell new cars, and some of the used cars they get in they won't necessarily want, and they get a lot of trade-ins, and trade-ins are great. Those are the cars that you usually want to buy over auction-based cars. So that's kind of the biggest difference between new car dealerships and used car dealerships. And then the next differentiating factor is non-luxury dealerships versus luxury dealerships. And if you were to take away anything from that segment in this video, what I would say is, believe it or not, treat the people at the dealership with respect. Build a good relationship with the people at the dealership, whether you're buying it from a non-luxury or from a luxury car dealership. That's going to help you out down the road, and that's just what you want to do with any business. If you're going to buy from a place regularly or buy from a brand regularly, wouldn't you want to have a good relationship so that you know that, hey, you're taking care of them, they're taking care of you, right? Pretty simple. And then finally, on to the types of used car dealerships with the buy here, pay here and all that. Just don't do buy here, pay here. Pay cash, get your own financing, don't do that. And yeah, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and I'll see all of you in the next video.